and welcome back to my channel. I just want to run through some of your comments about my social worker meeting. Comments about social care and social security, aka benefits. I prefer the name social security personally, because benefits always strikes me as a rather degrading name for what I see as like a fundamental human right. But I use the word benefits just because that's the more widely understood idea. But I'm going to see if I can use the word social security a bit more often now. So, one of you says, I get a benefit and it invades every area of my life. Yes. If you're on social security benefits, you will find it does invade every area of your life because you're constantly scrutinised like you're a criminal. The key is not to try not, even though it is very difficult and easier said than done sometimes, but it's very important to try not to actually think you are a criminal or a sinner, because you're not, you're a human being. They want to make you think like that, they want to make you think you're a burden. You're not a burden. Do not ever think of yourself as a burden. Personally, I've never thought of myself as a burden. I know that's what people want, I know that's what the Tories try to get you to think yourself as, but I've never thought of myself as a burden. Never. Maybe I'm just lucky in that, I don't know. That's just the way I naturally think, but I've never ever thought of myself as a burden. And it is sad when disabled people do think of themselves as a burden. It's not just disabled people, by the way, it's elderly people as well. It's really important not to think of yourself as a burden, but to think of yourself as a human being who's entitled to certain rights. And it's about, and if those rights are denied, you need to demand them. Not obviously without, being assertive, not aggressive, because nothing gets done if you're aggressive, but being assertive, you need to demand your rights. That is really important, because otherwise but you allow them essentially to walk all over you and your human rights, and you lose your dignity in the process, okay? So never think of yourself as a burden. That's really important. You're not a burden. Disabled people, okay, you're not a burden. You're human beings, and you're entitled to your rights, and that includes enough money to live on, so your social security, you're entitled to that. You don't need to feel guilty about getting it. You're not a burden. Tories want to make you think like that. They can fuck off. You're not a burden, okay? Okay, that's really important. Okay, so the next comment, but yeah, I completely agree. They do invade every area of your life, unfortunately, and I really wish it was otherwise, and that we lived in a society where this wasn't the case. And it's very hard not to get beaten down by it. Actually, I think the reason why I don't see myself as a burden is because I'm a socialist, and socialism to me is the philosophy of freedom. And even though we don't live in a socialist society, I've read enough socialist literature to realise I'm not a burden, and to know that it's ideology and not facts that the Tories are trying to, make us believe something which isn't true, basically. So the next comment says, the next comment, I think this might be the same person who said about the benefits invading every area of their life. The next person says, well, actually no, I think it's the same person, they bully until decompensation, and then they apologise when they are pushed over the edge and clearly very unwell. So yeah, it is kind of a form of bullying, yeah. It is, because, and I think you said elsewhere, if you don't mind me borrowing it here because I thought it was very apt, I think you said elsewhere that it's basically an abusive relationship, or that it feels like an abusive relationship. And it is an abusive relationship, actually. The abuser, in this case, is the government. It's the powers that be, it's the anonymous bureaucrats, it's the machine. That's the abuser. They're bullying you, of course they are. And they want you to believe that you're not worthy. They want you to feel like a burden. Because if you feel like a burden, you're not going to demand your rights. Yeah, that's it, basically. And obviously if they, this bullying is relentless, eventually, if it does get to you, you could end up, getting very unwell. And it's often only at that point that they apologise. Maybe their humanity does start to come out. And the other one of you says that all their talk of independence and strengths-based is just euphemistic language for how can we find reasons not to financially support you. Yeah, it is basically code for cups, I completely agree. I fear the neurodiversity movement with all its advocacy has strengthened the hand of this austerity-inspired contradictory rubbish. Yeah, I completely agree with you. It has strengthened the hand of the austerity. Like the whole strengths, it might not be some. I do get the impression that some people in the neurodiversity movement don't want to distance themselves from this, and it's not like they're necessarily their official philosophy, but unfortunately, the end result of constantly going on about autism not being a disability, just a difference, the unfortunate result of that, and also their emphasis on strengths and not deficits, the unfortunate end result of that is cuts. We cannot ignore that. It's what's happening. I've been reading lately some of the neurodiversity rhetoric and how it's being applied in a classroom, and you can see a similar sort of neoliberal ideology, and that's what it is. It's dressed up as social justice and progressive, but it's actually, when you look into it, the complete opposite. It's basically the complete erasure of disability. It's not disability friendly at all, because they don't even talk about disability anymore. And if you do start talking about disability and deficit, you're immediately given a talking down. You're said, oh, we must focus on your strengths, not what you can't do, what you can do, from a position of competence, But yeah, it's all code for cuts, so I agree. And as you say, clearly you're having a cleaner would give you time, energy and an environment to make the most of your strengths and thus be more independent. So that would basically be what I call positive freedom. So Gattori's version of freedom is negative freedom. What that means is they take away the support under the lingo of strengths-based. They take away your support because they say that you need to utilise your own strengths, your own resources to be self-reliant. It almost sounds a bit like those Victorian ladies who went round slumming it, trying to tell people how to live. You need to be self-reliant. It's okay if you go to charity, that's fine, but do not come to the state. No. You have to be self-reliant. Stand on your own 2 feet. So take away all support, then you're free. But what worth is that freedom? It's negative freedom. They haven't taken into account your needs. So you're completely and utterly weakened. You can't make use of your strengths because they're not providing what you need to utilise your strengths. Whereas positive freedom, which is socialist freedom, true freedom, gives the person what they need. No questions asked. Your needs are met. Simple. You don't have to go through this degrading process of being constantly checked and counter-checked and everything. It's just you're treated like a human being with dignity and respect. Not this paranoia. Your needs are met. You can then self-actualise yourself. You can reach the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can become a genuinely free and autonomous human being because your needs are being completely met. And if need be, it might mean some people actually doing things for you in order for you to do the things you can do to the best of your ability and enjoy genuine autonomy and positive freedom, which never means being completely on your own. That's negative freedom, and that's the Tory idea of freedom, being completely on your own. That's not what is, whereas the socialist freedom is about being supported so that you can genuinely blossom and meet your full potential. That's the difference. And then one of you says, unless there is ideological change at the top, good decisions like this will continue to occur. So it's ideological right at the top. That's where they make their decisions at the government level. And unfortunately, we never get to see the bureaucrats. They're always behind closed doors. We sometimes get to see an underling, but the ones who actually make the decisions are always behind closed doors. I mean, there's a reason for that, obviously, because, you know, they're scared, quite frankly. So they keep themselves well hidden. Okay, I'm going to move over to video number 2 now just to carry on answering some of your comments. So moving over to video number 2.